Sweet Christmas, jive turkeys, and welcome to the JonesCast. Well, no, welcome to AKA the JonesCast. Actually, I am still working on what our intro will be for the JonesCast, but since we're still in, jive turkeys, sweet Christmas, Luke Cage is still a central part of our story, so I feel comfortable keeping our old intro until we decide to expand beyond. Okay, Luke Cage is who got us here. Luke Cage is who's carrying us through. Tonight's episode, aka Crush Syndrome, Season 1, Episode 2, Jessica vows to prove Hope's innocence, even though it means tracking down a terrifying figure from her own past. Director S.J. Clarkson, written by Mika Schraft, and let's see here. Of course, our usual gang of idiots. Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, Rachel Taylor as Trish Walker, yay! Erin Moriarty as Hope Schlotman, Eka Darville as Malcolm Ducase, Carrie Ann Moss as Jerry Hogarth, David Tennant as Kilgrave. Yeah, Kilgrave is awesome. So tonight's episode opens up in what fans of the JonesCast will recognize as a very familiar location, an interrogation room. And, of course, she's being interviewed by the cop who's sort of looking at the fact that Hope killed her parents and is asking, did she seem like she was going to kill her parents when you left her,
Yeah, definitely a person that you want to be talking to figure out what's going on.
Well, exactly. And, of course, they went into her office and pulled all of her files, including all the photographs she's taken of Mr. Luke Cage. And
that detective, he's from The Wire, right?
Let me see here. Who was the detective here? That was Clark Peters. I will tell you in a minute. He was in The Divide. He was in Mandela. Oh, he was in Doctor Who Dreamland TV miniseries.
He was on The Wire too, right?
I have to get back to when The Wire was. Yeah, The Wire. He was Detective Lester Freeman.
Lester Freeman. That's right.
There we go. Yes, he was from The Wire. He was also on Person of Interest. He plays Alonzo Quinn. In Treme, he is Albert Lambro.
Right.
In The Divide, he is Isaiah Page. I don't know what The Divide is, but yeah, he is a well-working actor. He was Ralph Coates in Jericho, if anyone remembers that. He was Sonny Persad in The Tunnel, which I have no idea what that is. But yes, this is a guy who works regular, without a doubt. Oh, he was in John Wick. He played Harry. And, and for what it's worth, he was an editor on Marley and Me. And he played a character named Helix in Notting Hill. Yeah. Who knows? That's Clark Peters for you. He gets around. He works regular. Yeah, well, that's good. It's always nice when you see someone who is getting regular work. Let's see here. So what happens this episode? So,
they basically have nothing on her. So she walks out, and I think at that point she goes to see Hope.
Exactly. She goes
who has a very interesting take on her situation.
Yeah, because she knows what Hope has been through.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I meant as in Hope sees this as all being her fault.
Well, it is, that's the thing about these first episodes with Hope. You don't know how much of it is Kilgrave's programming.
Oh, right.
When she tells
Jessica,
you should probably just kill yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that Kilgrave talking through her, or is that Hope just giving her just honest advice? You'll be happier if you kill yourself, you know?
I thought she meant it in the sense of like, whatever he wants to do with you, he's going to keep coming after you and killing the people around you and making them suffer. So you kill yourself, you'll be saving all your people, all your friends. If you really cared about the people that you're trying to protect, kill yourself. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it is. It is brutal. And although this is a brutal episode because, of course, she starts researching how Kilgrave might still be alive and comes across the ambulance. And she basically scams some protected HIPAA information from a hospital to find out that there was no John Doe at that scene.
Right.
And then she finds out that there was an ambulance driver who went rogue that day, and she tracks him down and finds out that he is in a very bad way. He had a stroke because he had given both of his kidneys away after he went on his little joyride. And honestly, which I think is just like one of the most powerful dark moments in it, is, of course, the guy takes the paper and he writes kill. And of course, Jessica says, yes, Kilgrave. I know, I'm trying to find him. And then he just writes me. And it is just like, this is like the horror of it. It's not even like, Jessica wants to find Kilgrave, but like Kilgrave's victims, it's like, I don't care about Kilgrave. I just want to die. And I think that was a powerful statement, especially when you tie it back to Hope's statement of, you ought to just kill yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we all want to do. We all want that, and the idea being that, if you could, it's an attempt at control. This series is probably one of the most psychological that I think Marvel has put out. Granted, the bar's not that high, but I mean, this is a very psychological thing. It deals a lot with trauma, a lot with survivor syndrome, and a lot with, how people deal with having their sense of self taken away from them. Because when you think about it, that is what Kilgrave does, is he takes away your sense of self. He takes away what makes you you.
Yeah.
Because now suddenly you're just an extension of Kilgrave. You're no longer you, and that is overwhelming.
And not just you, but your surroundings and everything that surrounds you in your life. That sort of, it's not yours anymore.
Exactly. We get a nice bit with Trish and Jessica in this. For those who don't know, Trish Walker, she's getting introduced here. She is going to be Patricia Walker. Eventually you get her full name. And, of course, listeners to the CageCast do recognize Trish Walker because her show was on CageCast. They do a callback with her. But, of course, what I love about Trish Walker is that she actually is a Marvel character. She is actually Patsy Walker the Hellcat, who happens to be one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. So it's...
What story?
Yeah, well, she was... it's actually very interesting, is that essentially her plotline is she was an old comic book character. She was basically Marvel's answer to Archie Andrews. They created Patsy Walker as sort of this teen character. And then basically when superheroes became the big thing, they actually had the idea that, what if Patsy decides she wants to be a superhero?
So does she have any powers?
Well, now she does, yeah. Originally she just had a suit that gave her cat powers, like sort of cat-like reflexes. Now, actually, because then she married Damian Hellstorm, was driven insane, killed herself, went to hell, came back, and now she's basically kind of keyed up magically. So she's got all these great cat powers, but she also has like a magic sense and is aware of magical energies that flow around us. And she's a pretty cool character.
Wow.
And with Doctor Strange moving everything mystically, you really hope that we're going to get our Patsy Walker Hellcat in this storyline.
Wow.
Somewhere along the line, you know. Don't know where, don't know when, but we're hoping for it. Anyway, so, but we do get a nice interchange between Trish and Kristen, you know, about where we get a nice little bit of data dump on Kilgrave and on the fear that all of these people are living in, and who's ever come in contact with him, you know, and we get a good discussion on the door, you know, which is that, you know, Pat, you know, of course, Kristen in the first episode throws a man through the door. Her door is broken, and you know, Patsy, of course, wants it to be fixed, and they go back and forth on that. Although, for what it's worth, you know, and this is how you know these two are actually really close friends. Is Kristen? Jessica does make the point that, you know, she used the name for her investigation company that Patsy had recommended, which I thought was very sweet. And of course, when Patsy does send a guy in to fix the door, Jessica basically beats him up.
Now, is Trish aware of Jessica's powers?
You know, I don't. In total, yes. I don't know if we know she's aware of her powers yet, but in total, yes. Trish knows that she has powers. Trish knows she is.
Like, she should know better, knowing how dangerous she is. You know.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that as powerful, and that's the thing, is like as powerful as she still got taken by Kilgrave.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the thing about powers. It's like, you know, powers are great until you meet someone else with powers.
Right.
You know, and not for nothing, this is the third powered person in this scene. You know, is you have Jessica,
Luke,
you have Luke, and you have Kilgrave. So it's like there are a lot of powered people. Just being powered doesn't give you protection. You know, the way that you want it to be. And we see, which is again, which feeds into this idea of Patsy Walker perhaps seeking that superheroic life, or even just protection from it. We get a good scene of her training with, I believe it's Krav Maga is what she's doing, which is, of course, you know, Israeli martial arts, you know.
Israeli special forces.
Exactly. Those guys don't mess around. That's what they tell everyone. I have no idea how effective it is in an actual fight. But I'm assuming relatively okay.
I mean, the idea with Krav Maga is just to quickly disengage and be able to leave. So most of their techniques are just, you know, dirty fighting, some would consider, because their idea is to incapacitate you and get away from the situation as quick as possible.
Yeah. Well, hey, if it works, it works.
A lot of, you know, growing, gouging, eye gouging, you know, that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's perfect for Patsy Walker, the Hellcat. Anyway, so as we said, Jessica does track down. She tracks down the ambulance driver, then tracks down the doctor that performed the surgery to transfer his kidneys into Kilgrave. And this I thought was really interesting. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds true enough. That, like, basically you give a person a set of kidneys and they'll be just fine for, like, a year. You know, like...
that seemed kind of suspect to me as well. But
I guess it made sense to me in the sense that, you know what? Basically rejecting a kidney probably does take time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, you know, you might not be perfect, but, you know, you're going to have that kidney and it's going to work for a period of time, you know. That basically when you're matching a kidney, what you're trying to do is just make sure that kidney basically lasts the rest of your life. Right. But if you're a guy who can just go get a kidney anytime you want,
right,
you know, it's maybe less important. And quite frankly, it's not like he has difficulty getting rejection drugs for his kidney. which you'd have to take anyway, even with a perfect match. You still have to take anti-rejection drugs. So yeah, so maybe he's just, so it was interesting, a statement, and it's like, it sounds just true enough to be true,
Yeah. Yeah.
I really have never done the research into it to double check to see if that was the case or not.
Also, it sets up a mechanism, by which you can set up a trap for him later. It's already saying, hey, after a while he's going to need to replace it,
Yes. Well, and to that extent, we do, at least Jessica thinks she found Kilgrave's weakness.
Yeah.
Because her whole plan is, I'm going to find his weakness. Then once I find his weakness, then I can take him out. And of course, what she realizes is, because when the guy's telling about when the doctor is telling her about the surgery, he basically says, yeah, he would not let me give him anesthetic. And the reason why was because when he was he was worried, or at least the idea that she extrapolates is that when he was under the anesthetic, it turns off parts of your brain that he needs to maintain control.
Mm.
Yeah, so that I thought was very interesting. That we now get our breakdown. We're now, and what always strikes me as fascinating when I do these rewatches is how quickly things move. Because, to me, when I was thinking back on this, I was we're going to do the rewatch, and of course I've seen all these episodes, but in my mind I was thinking, oh yeah, that there's much more mystery about Luke Cage, how, and there's much more, how things unfold. It all unfolds a lot faster than I remembered, and it's exciting and it's enjoyable to watch. I'm not giving that as a negative. I'm saying that's actually kind of a positive. I really, but it's always shocking. And the same thing happened to me when I rewatched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple months ago. It was like, oh wow, they actually get to this stuff a lot faster than I think. And now at that time I was just like, oh well, that's because normally I watch it week to week, and so it seems like a long time to get to things. But here I binged watched Jessica Jones right when it came out, at least several episodes, and to realize after the fact that it actually was actually they actually got to stuff quickly was kind of a shock to me, but it's a good shock.
But it's kind of like, because a lot of these things are being set up and you're not supposed to notice them, but once you see the end game, you kind of see them happening earlier than you normally would,
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Along those lines, we do get introduced to. We actually got introduced to them last episode, which is our upstairs neighbors.
Oh.
Ruben and I can't remember his sister's name. I'm looking right now. Ruben is played by Kieran Mulcair, and is his sister Pam?
I think so.
Yes, that's played by Susie Aberment. Yeah, her headshot does not look like the mousy gal. Of course, his headshot doesn't look like the mousy guy either. So, they both do a lot of good transformation.
He looks more squirrely. That's what I would use to describe him. He looks squirrely.
Yes, but anyway, so but that is those are our wacky next door neighbors for Jessica Jones, or maybe Jessica Jones is their wacky next door neighbor, and yeah, they are a weird couple of people living together, which Jessica, of course, assumed they were lovers, and then it is revealed that no, we're brother and sister. The one quick point out that does not
in his underwear,
Yeah, that does not preclude them being possible lovers. It's just even creepier then.
Yeah.
We didn't think this was the Ultimate Universe after all. Yeah, that is something the Ultimate Universe will never live down, was making Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver lovers as well as brother and sister.
Oh boy.
And then just treating it like, hey, it's the crazy 90s, man. You can incest is okay. And it was like, no, it's not. It's never. No, we don't accept you. Ultimate Universe, which is why they utterly destroyed the Ultimate Universe in the most graphic and horrific ways they possibly could. Was basically a universe created to be destroyed. Anyway, but because Jessica tracks down the doctor, and the doctor basically corroborates corroborates the story. This presents a legitimate person to bolster Hope's case. And again, this is this very fascinating thing, of course, because, and I think Hogarth, if she doesn't do it here, she does do it later, where she says, you could be the one to corroborate her case. You could be the one to say, yes, Kilgrave has this power. And of course, Jessica rejects that. And I do think that, like I said, there's a lot of really powerful rape metaphor in this series. And it is this idea of not wanting to be called out, not wanting to be said, well, what were you doing? You say he mind controlled you, but how much did you have to drink that night, Miss Jones? Because
Right.
let's face it, that's the reality of that legal breakdown, and
That, and I think it's hard for her to see herself as a victim.
yeah, I mean, I think the whole victims of Kilgrave thing, that is something that will come up later, and yes, Jessica definitely has a hard time unpacking the emotional baggage that is her time with Kilgrave.
Yeah, and she's a superhuman, She's not supposed to feel vulnerable at all, and that's the one point where she does. And it affects her pretty badly.
Yeah. Well, it would affect any of us pretty badly, I think. I think that's... I mean, like I say, this is... Jessica Jones, I do think is really... as much as I loved Luke Cage, I really think Jessica Jones it's just such a powerful series, Honestly, it's funny to me, because, like, Daredevil is, like, the least interesting to me of all of them, and he is, like, the most superheroic character.
Really? I find that series is my favorite by far.
Oh, see, yeah. I mean, now, granted, I'm not that big of a fan of Daredevil to start with, so that might have something to do with it. But mostly, I just watch and I complain about the fact that Matt Murdock is not a good lawyer. And anyone who is like hiring Matt Murdock to be your lawyer, it's like, no, you need Jen Walters. In fact, I've actually, we're when we do the all new Marvel roundup with Phil, when I do that with Phil, he reads Daredevil all the time, and various other things where people will like say, oh, like an Avenger will say, don't worry, we got the best lawyers who work with the Avengers. We can get you, we can get you Matt we can get you Jen Walters, we can get you Matt Murdock, and I'm just thinking, Matt Murdock's not a good lawyer,
No, but that's the thing. It's like he might be a good lawyer, but he can't help himself from being, that other part of himself as well. Which is why it's a good thing that Foggy is there, because Foggy seems, like a reasonably good lawyer with good connections, and people see him, respectably enough.
No, Foggy's an excellent lawyer. Honestly, it's like if you get a case and you have Nelson and Murdoch representing you, ask for Nelson. Don't ask for Murdoch.
No, you get both of them anyways, But I think that, for me, I love that show because it was the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where a show or anything was made where it felt more real. It wasn't, superhero-y. It wasn't like, joke, every minute. It felt more real. The conversations were more real. The actors were their performances felt like they were happening in the real world rather than a superhero world like you'd see in Luke Cage. And I think this series, Jessica Jones, fed off of that and made a pretty substantive and dark show that deals with some really, really powerful issues rather than just being a loud smash bang, bright colored smash them up kind of show, So I think as far as that's concerned, I really, really dug that about the Daredevil show. For me, it was like the Dark Knight sort of the Marvel universe. It was bringing something a bit more real and a bit more in a world that we're used to.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed the Daredevil series. I thought it was fantastic. I'm just saying that, like, for me, Jessica Jones just moves a bit deeper. And like to me, I think because it is very superheroic, red tights and all. I think that in some ways that in comparison to the work that's being done with Jessica Jones, the work that was done with Luke Cage, it's like, oh, that's not nearly. I mean, honestly, I think that maybe even the Punisher might be stronger to me. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Punisher.
For that.
Oh yeah. Well, we will be here on a Punisher cast when that comes. Okay. Any final thoughts on the episode, Mozz?
I thought it was a decent episode. Again, when you watch a show like this, it doesn't feel like you're watching a Marvel show or a superhero show. It just feels like you're watching a really, really well-written drama.
Yeah.
I thought it was another really good episode.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This is a great series so far, and we're really enjoying it. And I hope you're enjoying it too, loyal listeners out there in podcast land. Mozz, if anyone would like to talk to you about Jessica Jones, about Luke Cage, about the Incredible Hulk, or anything else, and by the way, I wanted to say when you said this is like a great show, not just I'm like, hey, we do watch the Incredible Hulk on a regular basis. So are you saying that's not every bit as grounded in reality? Yeah. Where can people reach you to talk all this nonsense, Mozz?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR @gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook under that.
Awesome. And of course, you can always reach out to me via that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet various things from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the Incredible Hulk on MeTV at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for equality. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the AKA JonesCast once again. And please come back next week when we will talk about Jessica Jones once more. Good night.